My name is John Fancy. I'm a program manager at Microsoft. I run the Logic Apps team. I'll get into more of that later if you're not familiar with that. But it's part of something which is really the topic of this session, which is Azure Integration Services, which is our collection of capabilities in Azure that allows you to integrate stuff together, i.e. connect things and make data move between them, whether they're apps, data sources, or something else. Who here knows what Azure Integration Services is already? Wow, a few people. Who knows what Microsoft Flow is? Good, that's a good start. So hopefully I'll make you all experts in Azure Integration Services by the end of the hour. You'll see that there's a lot of synergy between the Power Platform and Azure. If you're not familiar with that already, then I'm going to spend most of the time doing demos. I've kind of been on the road for a couple of weeks, so this is the third conference I've had in 2 weeks. It's the first time I presented this content, so you never know exactly how long it's going to take. So hopefully we'll fit it all in an hour, but I do have a habit of talking faster and faster as we get towards the end. But maybe some of my demos won't work, so that'll help speed things along as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what Azure Integration Services is. It's kind of important, right, to understand what I'm kind of talking about. I'm going to talk about how you can leverage it from the Power Platform as well, which is also kind of important, like how these two worlds kind of blend together, and they really do blend together. You shouldn't look at this as a sort of either-or, and I'm going to talk a lot about that. And then kind of what does this do for me? Because this is about giving you additional capabilities beyond what you have inside of the Power Platform and inside of Dynamics and inside of the Office integration that you're probably already familiar with, and what I can do when I start integrating that with Azure as well, with the rich ecosystem of 200 plus services that we have in Azure to really start to kind of glue this stuff together. Okay, so a little bit of kind of grounding here. The integration is kind of a thing. It's been a market category for at least 20 years. We've had products over that time, whether it's in SQL or with BizTalk or other products, for being able to just connect stuff together, because typically the more things that you implement, the more need you have to start gluing these things together. So, this is a kind of readout from Gartner, who say that, in the next couple of years, 2/3 of enterprises will have some form of integration capability and hybrid integration capability, so the ability to connect not just cloud to cloud, but cloud to on-premises, cloud to ground as well. Because this is a category that they track, and it's called Integration Platform as a Service, as you'll see. So, but I wouldn't really look at it like that. I'd look at it purely in terms of the capabilities. It's kind of segmenting this, particularly in the world that we're living in with Microsoft, where we just have this spectrum of capabilities. It's quite artificial. And I kind of want to sort of talk a bit about that as well. Because there's just this enormous breadth of integration that's occurring, from traditional application to application integration, which are things like EAI, these very old terms now of connecting things like your ERP system, whether it's SAP or Dynamics or something else, but also more modern ways of connecting applications together, things like RPA. Who's an RPA expert in the room? Who knows what RPA is? All right. It's cool, right? But it's really just the ability to do integration. How do I do integration to the apps themselves, either through the screens or some other mechanism, because I don't have modern APIs usually to connect this stuff together. And I'm going to talk and hopefully show a little bit on this as well. And then intelligence, which is another kind of recent trend on how do I have the ability to actually do this stuff automatically, potentially as well. And then you've got B2B, another traditional kind of integration capability centered around EDI, protocols like Edifact and X12. These are just wire protocols for doing transmission of things like invoices and orders between organizations. But even this is changing. In the healthcare industry, you've had something called HL7, which is based on these flat file formats on X12 actually, which are modernizing to now something called FHIR, which is a REST-based API-driven mechanism of connecting healthcare companies, providers, and insurance companies, and other institutions like universities together so that they can easily exchange information. And then in banking, we have EBIX in Europe for giving a way of doing payments. So this stuff is not standing still. And the need for integration continues to grow, even beyond these traditional two categories to things like SaaS. The explosion of SaaS services, whether it's our own first-party services like Office 365 or Salesforce or others, the plethora of things that you have to connect to just continues to grow. IoT, of course, another cool area where we have connectivity to be able to not just kind of deploy to devices, but also to monitor devices in the field once they've been deployed, collecting sensor data, acting on the data from that, gaining insights, and doing interesting things with it. And then data analytics, which kind of moves on from that with the ability to connect not just databases together now, but pretty much anything that can emit data. So this is just going to keep going. And what this is leading us towards are these kind of four kind of tenets, that everything should be API driven, everything should be easily connected using some uniform way, so you only have to learn how to do it once. And once you've learned how to do that, you should be able to connect anything. Now, we've worked really hard, both in the Power Platform and in Azure, to make this true, so that everything is a tooled experience, particularly in the Power Platform, where I can see all the connectors that I have, nearly 300 now in Microsoft Flow, more than that even in Power BI. The same connectors more or less in Logic Apps in Azure as well, so to kind of get that symmetry depending on where you want to start from. But you don't necessarily even know the technical details of what's happening behind this, but it's all being driven by an API underneath that's wrapping up some underlying service that's providing value to you and your business. This creates a lot of flexibility because I can not just connect things together to wire this up, but I can rewire this on demand. So I get the agility. This is one of the primary benefits of moving to the cloud, is you can fail fast, you can change quickly, you can learn, you can just create new applications out of existing ones just by adding more layers, more capabilities, more API integration to be able to change as the business dictates. And then this hybrid kind of idea, also part of an integration platform as a service, the ability to be able to connect not just stuff in the cloud, all this modern stuff which is designed for that to a large extent, but how do I also do this in the same way to my on-premises environments as well? Whether it's the file system or SQL databases or DB2 or mainframes or whatever it is, you want to be able to connect this stuff together in the same way, because this is all driving change. So I won't talk a lot about digital transformation. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it already, but the way I kind of frame this up is it's just about change. How do I easily change? How can I change faster than my competitors? How can I change faster than I used to in my organization so I get more things done more quickly? And using this technology that we have, both in Power Platform, in Dynamics, in Office, and in Azure, gives you the capabilities to do that. So kind of dropping down a level, kind of taking a more technical view of this in terms of the types of connectivity that we have. These boil down to things like messaging. So maybe I want to do loosely coupled asynchronous communication between different things. I can put a message in a queue and then pick it up somewhere else. Maybe I put it in a queue on premises and I can pick up the messages from that queue in the cloud by triggering a Logic app or a Flow when something happens. Very easy because I can have a kind of disconnected way of joining systems together, and it's very heterogeneous. So everything has, again, an API, so provided I have a way of making an HTTP call to something, I can do it from anywhere to anything. Then we have data wrangling, just this capability of being able to change the shape of something, be able to take data in one shape and massage it and change it, enrich it, and turn it into something else so I can send it to a downstream system and make this stuff talk together. B2B, as I mentioned, an EDI, and then apps and SaaS, and then this smart connected integration. I'm going to show a little bit of this today in terms of some new capabilities that we've recently released that we now have connectivity to as well. So all of the flexibility and agility is what gives you the benefits of actually moving it all, right? I mean, everyone's got something already that solves these problems. So how do I get, how am I enticed? How am I motivated to actually make these changes and start migrating this stuff to the cloud? These are the capabilities that will help you do that because they just provide so much more functionality than you've ever been able to achieve using system on premises. And it's moving so quickly that we add more capabilities all the time. So this is where Azure Integration Services comes in. So I talked about iPaaS, this integration platform as a service. What's interesting for us, and we're a little different from some of the competitors here, is we actually address multiple personas, all the way from the citizen automators, or citizen developers at one end, being able to create experiences often for themselves, maybe for their department or organization, all the way up to professional integrators and professional developers who do this for a living all day long. That's all they do is kind of connect stuff together in the IT department. But we've actually bridged both of these with the Power Platform and with Azure. We're gold on having low or no code. With Azure, you can write code when you need to, but most of the time you don't have to, right? But we provide more capabilities to be able to write code where it makes sense and where you need to augment our capabilities and extend them. So who here is a developer? Would you classify yourself? Oh, fantastic. Okay, I'll stop messing around and I'll start writing some code in a minute. And API centricity as well. And then on the other side of this, we're also serverless. That's why we're a little different. So serverless is the ability to not provision infrastructure, so you get there faster. There's less to set up before you can get to actually creating solutions. You focus on that business logic, and this provides a possibility or capability of reducing cost because you're only paying for what you use. So instead of creating infrastructure and having to size the environments based on a load that you haven't built yet, you can grow over time, consuming more of the services and pay as you go instead of having this upfront CapEx cost and the time associated with that. So you just kind of pay as you use. The other advantage is that because you don't have to size the environments, you don't have to figure out how much you need up front because we'll auto-scale on demand serverlessly, so there's nothing for you to configure, there's nothing for you to worry about, nothing for you to manage. You just consume the service and it just increases. And this is where Azure Integration Services comes in. Now remember I said this is a collection of capabilities. It's 4 things. So let's get into that. So it's APIs, of course. It's workflow and orchestration, the ability to kind of automate and orchestrate things. It's messaging, as I mentioned, to be able to loosely couple systems together simply and easily. And it's events. So the triggering, how do I, in real time, make something happen based on an event that occurs somewhere else? And each one of these maps onto the 4 capabilities, the 4 services in Azure that form Azure Integration Services, which is API management for creating, consuming, and publishing APIs, logic apps for doing orchestration and workflow, service bus for messaging, and then event grid for creating events, for consuming events, publishing events, subscribing to events. Okay, so I imagine if you all put your hand up about Flow, you're all familiar to some extent with logic apps, even if you don't know it. This is a sister product to Flow, different experiences, but the same person. You know, a lot of people say, when do I use what? The simple answer is use both. So each has its own unique capabilities, although there's a lot of commonality between them, including being familiar with one in terms of being able to use the other, which is great, right? You don't have to learn 2 different tools. You can just understand what the additional capabilities of each one of these is and use as appropriate. Flow's great because it's integrated into Office, it's integrated into Dynamics. Logic Apps is great because it's integrated into Azure, right? So the experiences differ in terms of the capabilities they provide, largely based on that. But you really are going to succeed if you understand what the capabilities of each is uniquely so that you can apply them in the best way for the problem you're trying to solve. Then we have API management. You don't need to worry about taking pictures of this. You'll get the slides. I'm also going to show each one of these in a second, and I'll stop talking and just start demoing. API management gives you the ability to be able to create APIs. So this glue that connects everything together in this uniform way that I talked about. How do I actually start from nothing, create an API, and then consume that API from something else? So I start to create this network of APIs to build up my integration capabilities and my solution. Then we have Service Bus, which is a sort of publish subscribe mechanism for being able to put messages on a queue. I can set a filter, so maybe I'm interested in some of the messages that are on that queue, called a subscription. And then I can consume that maybe from multiple receivers so that I have a single message that now 6 people receive, 6 people see, or they filter it by some query that I can put on top of that. Like maybe I'm only interested in messages that come from a certain country or a certain division, organization inside my enterprise, I can do all of these things as well to have a very flexible way of moving data around using messages. And then Grid, which is kind of the newest of all of these, is the ability to be able to subscribe to events that occur across Azure and even beyond, because Event Grid participates in something called the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is an open standard shared across all the primary cloud vendors and actually a bunch of others, so that you can actually consume events from other clouds as well, because everyone's conforming to the same schema, the same representation of what an event is. So if you're using other clouds, I won't mention them by name, but you know who they are, you are able to use Event Grid to consume events that are actually triggered from things happening in another cloud. Okay. Let's have a look. See if I've been logged out of everything. So I've got a bunch of demos here. I will, how are we doing for time? 15 minutes. Okay. So let's look at a couple of things. The first one is, let's show you Event Grid. So the interesting thing about Event Grid is we have built-in experiences, because this is about how things work better together, not how I learn each individual thing and then figure out what it can do for me. We're building in integration between the capabilities in Azure Integration Services to make them easy to use together, because they form part of this integration platform as a service. So here I'm just in the Azure portal, and I'm using, just got a storage account, so somewhere I can just throw files. And over the left-hand side, you see this little lightning bolt with events next to it. And we have a growing number of services that are wired up to this. And if I click on events, I'm going to see a couple of things. I'm going to see a subscription to an event that I have. That's this thing down the bottom. You can see it's got the logic app and then the name, which is basically telling me that I have a logic app wired up to a storage event. Now, that's interesting because it means when I do an operation on that storage, like I write a file to a blob container or I delete a file, it will trigger the logic app. But I can also use this experience here and actually choose from one of the curated templates that we have to be able to just automatically create a logic app from that storage account without doing anything. So if I say when a new blob is uploaded, I can just click create, and it immediately takes me into the logic app designer. It's going to tell me that I have a couple of connections that I need to configure, but I've already done that. And here's what happens. Like, I have a trigger based on Event Grid wired up to the storage account. It knows it's already the storage account. Resource name, John Storage Demos, the resource type, storage accounts. But I haven't actually kind of created the resource and named it, the logic app yet. I've just been launched into the designer. And if I kind of scroll down, you can see that I can filter by the type of event. It says, storage blob created. There's a deleted event as well. Each event type has its own schema, which describes exactly the operations that it supports. And if it's created, then I'm just going to delay for 30 days, and I'm going to delete the blob right down the bottom here. So super easy, right? It's like the way of being able to just consume these events. If I was to save this and kind of give it a name, which is handily called New Logic App, just because I already have one of those, I'm going to call it New Logic App 2, which is what everybody does. This is standard naming convention in Microsoft. And then I will just let that save down, and if I go back to the storage account, the Wi-Fi is willing. Wow. Okay. Still saving. Interesting. I wonder why it's still saving. Okay, now it's saved. If I go back, hopefully I'll see two logic apps wired up down the bottom here, right? The new one I just created and the one I originally had. Okay, that's interesting. So let's have a look at another example. Here I have API management. Now, API management is really critical to everything. All the connectors that we have, both across PowerApps, Flow, and Logic Apps, all use kind of API management behind the scenes. It's doing all of the routing of all the API calls between all the different pieces of the architecture that we have with everything running in the cloud. So here I've just got a simple API management instance. I've got something called APIs, and I can see all the APIs that I created. Now, what I can do is I can create an API from an open API definition or Swagger file. I can create it from Waddle, which some API management solution supports. It gives you a way of kind of going backwards and forwards between different API managers. But I can also do it from a Logic app. And here I can browse, and it will list all the Logic apps that I have available in my subscription, so I can turn one of those Logic apps that I already have into an API that is then consumable from something else. Now, I won't let that load in the interest of time, but I will come back because that's kind of interesting. So you see I've got a whole bunch of them. That's kind of interesting because the other thing I'm able to do is take the APIs that I've created from the Logic apps and then consume those from PowerApps. But I will get on to that a little later. Okay, let's pop. Oops, I don't want those slides. I want these slides. Let's pop back. Okay, one of the ways this is interesting is customers, pretty much anybody, looks at how they adopt the cloud, is being able to kind of extend the existing capabilities that they have and kind of moving at their own pace over time. So originally, this kind of cloud rush that started 10 years ago, a lot of the early easy workloads were VM-based, right? You can just kind of pick things up, lift and shift into the cloud. But you don't really get the agility, you don't really get the advantages of all the services that you have in the cloud once you get there, because you're really just taking boxes, virtualizing them, and standing them up in the cloud, right? Whereas what we're seeing now is kind of stage 2 of this, and really taking a more thoughtful approach of how do I transform the applications that I have, the assets that I have on premises, and extending them to the cloud. So maybe I leave things where they are, and I wrap them. So you kind of look at an approach like this, where I kind of got Azure, and I got on-prem, and nothing's in Azure, it's kind of sad face, it's all on-prem. And I got 4 applications, and they're kind of go talking to one another. So I start to look at it and go, well, you know what? I can actually use Logic Apps, use Azure Integration Services to extend that into the cloud. And I can say, well, once I've done that, now a new project comes along, and I can have the Logic app talking to the new application that I'm building cloud natively in Azure, connecting back down to my systems on-prem using the data gateway, which I'm sure, again, you're all familiar with, connecting to SQL Server in this case or something else, but having the ability to now reach out to all of these Azure services through all the connectors that we have up there. And then you can kind of keep building on this, and you can take the approach of then later all applications or all capabilities are now built cloud first. By building this out with more Logic apps, you start to not just connect from cloud to on-prem, but you start to extend the capabilities that you have and kind of modernize over time such that you can start to retire the applications that you have on-prem, the data that's residing on-prem, and kind of move it as necessary as you see fit, as you see the value in doing so, so that your on-premises footprint kind of declines over time. So I mentioned this a second ago. I'm going to show another demo in a minute. But if you leave with one thing, it's that using Flow and Logic Apps together is really easy. So that means using Azure Integration Services and the Power Platform is also really easy, because it's all based around APIs. It's all based around the interconnectedness of these things together, so that you can actually take a flow and turn it into a Logic app. Everything in Azure is based on an Azure Resource Manager template. It's just a definition of the thing that you're creating, whether it's a SQL database, a VM, or a Logic app, or a Service Bus queue. So you can take an existing flow and turn it into a Logic app super easily. You can also take a Logic app and turn it into a connector, a custom connector automatically, which, if you haven't seen this, I'll just quickly show you. Let's kind of open this up, because I'm going to show this in a second. So I can take a Logic app that I've got, and over here I have this export button, right? And when I click that, let's just do that. It says export to PowerApps and Flow, and what this is going to do is automatically create an API for me again, but this time in PowerApps and Flow, so that when I go over to the portal, for PowerApps or for Microsoft Flow, I'm going to see this Logic app show up as a custom connector. Now, the request trigger on this thing, when it receives an HTTP request, could have a schema associated with it, and it's smart enough to figure out what the parameters and everything should be when you're calling it from a Power App. So it becomes super easy to kind of blend these two worlds together. Oops, not that one. Okay. Oh, it wants me to go back anyway. All right, let's have a quick look at kind of extending that. So here I've got a logic app. Let's just open this thing up. I've already exported this to PowerApps. I'll show that in a second. Now what this is doing is it is taking an HTTP request. In this case, it's going to take a binary object. So I'm actually going to post in a PDF. I'm going to grab the contents of this. I'm going to put it in blob storage just to archive it. But the interesting thing is kind of down here, where I'm going to use a new connector that we've got, which isn't quite available yet, but you'll see this soon in a few weeks, called Analyzed Forms. So we shipped a new service at Build about a month ago called the Forms Recognizer Service. This gives you the ability to provide a form, either in image format or PDF format, and a form that could look like something like this, right? This is just PDF. It's an invoice, so it consists of who it's from and who it's to, so the names and addresses, and then it consists of a table. Excuse me. Consists of a table consisting of the invoice number and the date and the due date and the amount and all the rest of it. And this Forms Recognizer service can take that, shred it, turn it into structured data, and give you the ability to then pull all those data values out. So that's cool. But the other thing you can do in Logic Apps, once you have that, is you can then write some code right here in the Logic Apps Designer. So we've had integration with Azure Functions for a long time, since Functions launched actually 3 years ago. But now, another capability that we just shipped is the ability to just write code right here in the Logic Apps Designer. So no kind of going backwards and forwards between the Azure services. Again, this is about how you can do integration more easily by having everything connected together right there and then. So in this case, we have support for Java right now. I'll just kind of zoom in on this. And, JavaScript. We have PowerShell coming soon over the summertime, and then we'll have C#, and we'll also have other languages coming after that. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, for everyone who put their hands up who's a developer in the audience, is because I kind of know how to write code. But more importantly, because the object that I get back from this service contains a whole bunch of stuff I don't care about. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a new JSON object which just consists of the raw data values that I do care about into a simple object, right, which is the invoice, the due date, total, etc. And then I'm going to create an invoice. I'm just going to use the Dynamics connector and create an invoice in Dynamics from the invoice data that came from that PDF. And that's it, I think. And then I return a response back with the invoice number coming back from Dynamics. Now, what's interesting before I kind of move on and actually sort of show this Forms Recognizer stuff is a machine learning model that gets automatically created. So I don't have to take this form and point out all of the fields. It learns by example. So we ship a few samples for this. This is actually up there on GitHub, so we provide a bunch of invoices in different formats. You can kind of open another one and have a look at it. And you just basically provide the list, a directory of all of the examples you want the model to train from, and call the training API, and it'll go through all of them and generate the model for you. So that when I go to my Logic app, all I'm referring to is this ID, this model ID, which gets generated from that model. So again, no code. All right, now I mentioned PowerApps. So let's go over to there. So here I have a Power App. I'm just going to open this up and brace yourself, because you're going to see me on the big screen in a second, because I always have to create Power Apps with camera controls because it's just cool, right? But in this case, there's a few ways, because I want an image. Because I want an image, I could get it from a file. So, I could just do this, but I could actually use this control and get it from a file. Now, excuse me, you see it says, an image file. So that's not what I'm going to do in this case. It's actually just a PNG. The other thing I can do is I can send any binary in. So I'm just going to take that invoice 1 that I passed in and open that up. It's not going to render it here because I didn't have time to figure out how to use the preview PDF control in PowerApps, but trust me, when I click the submit button, it is going to send that PDF to the Logic app, because I exported the Logic app as a connector, automatically then gets created in PowerApps that allow me to just call the logic app without kind of having to mess around with the API definitions and everything else. So if I showed you that, let's have a look. Then you'll see, I don't know, in the data sources, where are we? You can see that I actually have the form scanner, which gets auto-generated from the logic app that I created from Azure Integration Services. So if I pop over here and look at the form scanner and refresh this, and with any luck, 10 a.m., it created this thing. And I don't need to dwell on the experience because you've seen this before. But if I open up the analyzed form, you can see what I mean, that it kind of comes back with a whole bunch of stuff. All the pages in the PDF document, the invoice for, and then the values, Microsoft, etc., and the enterprise way. Now, what's interesting, if you've used something like the OCR service before, is that it's a key value pair now, because it understands the data, because it's learned by example from the invoices. So now it provides the key, which is the invoice for, so that then in my JavaScript code, I can go straight after the keys and pull the values out, which is what I do here, so that when I get the results back, I see invoice number, due date, the tax ID, and the total. And if I flip over to Dynamics, which is here somewhere, and just refresh this, it's created an invoice for me. All kind of automatically, all using these capabilities, these connectors. It's a super easy way of kind of using these stuff together, being able to use PowerApps. I could have done it with a flow as well, to be able to call a flow from a PowerApp, and maybe the flow can call the logic app, whatever, to kind of wire this stuff together, because I may have different people in my organization building different things, and I can kind of connect all of these things together to create an application out of that, the front end. Oh, yeah, just one more thing before I move on from this. Besides that, we have some interesting testing capabilities as well. So if I click this, we've got something called static results. This allows me to test each individual action. And what I can do here is I can provide the output that would be returned if I actually ran it. So in this example, this is what I got back. So I've kind of cut and pasted this in and create something called a test set, which allows me to be able to run my logic app even if I don't have connectivity to the thing yet that I want to call. Where this is really useful is if I'm building new APIs and I don't have the implementation for them yet, or I have a line of business system, something like SAP, that I don't have connectivity to because I'm just developing, I can actually ask somebody in the SAP team to give me a sample message that I would get back, and I can put that in here, and then I can call this. If I save that down, I get this little beaker appear that shows me that when this runs, it's going to use the test output that I provided instead of actually making a call to that service and getting the data back. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, let's pop back. Okay, so I'm going to spend a bit of time now calling out some of the differences, some of the capabilities that we have in Azure Integration Services, that we have in Logic Apps, so you'll have an awareness of when to use what again, right? So the first one is we have SAP connectivity. I mentioned SAP 3 or 4 times already. Does anybody use SAP here? Just kind of curious, who's an SAP customer? Yeah. It's very common, actually, that people use both Dynamics and SAP because from a historical point of view, SAP probably still is the world's largest ERP vendor. But what we see with Dynamics is there's a lot of other newer applications that customers are using, like talent acquisition and others, not least CRM. And then you need to connect these two things together. So we have the ability to easily do that. Let's just show, because it's going so well and I haven't had a demo not work yet, let's actually show an example of that. For those of you who've never seen SAP before, you're going to see SAP right now. Just a second. Okay, so I've got a super simple logic app here. And what this is going to do is, unlike the invoice one, which is a little bit real world, this is just going to take a request from SAP and it's going to contain 2 numbers and it's going to add the numbers together. So I'm initializing a couple of variables and oh yeah, you're right. Thank you. That would help before I get too carried away. So I've got an SAP trigger. The way this works is I just provide a kind of registration ID, the name of my logic app. It gets registered automatically with SAP, and then I can do some manipulation of the data. In this case, as I mentioned, I'm just sending in a couple of numbers. I'm going to add them together, and I'm going to send a response back. of the added numbers. So, and SAP is kind of all XML, if you weren't aware. So again, one of the differences, we have a lot of XML support in Logic Apps for being able to do this, including mapping, XLT, etc., for being able to change the shape of the data. So I could pop over to SAP right now. It's still logged in. This is the SAP admin interface, and I can take a module that I've got. All you really need to know is I'm going to pass in Logic Apps, which is the value that I gave this thing. And let's just give it a couple of numbers and execute this. And stunningly, 2 plus 9 equals 11. I'll just zoom in case you honestly don't believe me. And when I go back to the Logic app and see what happened and just refresh that, just to prove it really worked, at 10:05 it did it. So super easy, just as easy as connecting to everything else. That's really the key here. That even though it's SAP, and even though SAP isn't necessarily the easiest thing to connect to, we make it very, very straightforward. And again, right now there isn't a SAP connector for PowerApps or Flow, but you can use the same approach as I showed with the Forms Recognizer stuff, where I can just publish this out to PowerApps, and now I can call a Logic app from a PowerApp to integrate with SAP directly, very easily. Okay. All right. Next one. So another difference, which I talked about right at the beginning, is we have a lot of support for these B2B and EDI protocols in Azure Integration Services as well. These are often critical for things like supply chain, for order-to-cash type systems where you're generating orders or receiving orders and then generating invoices against those orders and exchanging this data electronically between organizations. So we have support for Edifact, X12, AS2. We've recently shipped support for ZenaNet, which is an electronic supply chain protocol. We have a full set of APIs for this as well, so you can programmatically do this, including something called Trading Partner Management, which gives you the ability to kind of model the two parties involved in that exchange in terms of the certificates that you use for the encryption of the data and that kind of stuff. And then XML processing, as I mentioned, in fact, a number of data mapping capabilities that we have, which are super useful for connecting not just to SAP, but for anything that requires XML, things like SOAP-based web services, if you have those, being able to easily integrate that stuff by being able to map the JSON format to XML and vice versa, and even using a liquid, liquid templates. Sorry, getting over a cold. Liquid templates, which allows you to parameterize maybe something like an email template with values that you just drop in based on the values that are flowing through your running system very easily to kind of create rich data out of that. I mentioned, in fact, I've shown kind of the inline code capabilities with JavaScript already. This is an interesting one. I'm going to really get a go for it now. I thought one or two people would put their hands up with SAP. Who's got a mainframe in the basement here that they're kind of using? Nobody. It's a long shot. So, who's too embarrassed to admit that they have a mainframe in the basement? There you go. So this is another new capability that we provided in Azure Integration Services a couple of months ago, which really is around this robotic process automation space. Because the traditional way of kind of connecting this stuff together is you have to write code to be able to integrate the APIs, such as they were, between these different systems, which meant just writing a lot of code to do the mapping in and out, using technical protocols that both mainframes, IBM mainframes, and other systems provided. Now we made that really easy because you can just record the screen interactions with the mainframes, and we create a new type of map from that, not just the fields on the screen, but actually the navigation between the screens themselves as well. Let's have a quick look, just to show you. I promise I'll only spend a couple of minutes. So we have let's see if this will connect. We have a recording tool. So this is the Microsoft mainframe back in Redmond. Now, I'm just going to kind of log on to this thing. We've got a test system. Then, because I have no idea what the clear key is on my laptop, I'm just going to use the little on-screen keyboard. I'm going to do this. Oops. Now, look at this in all its splendor. Who needs 8K monitors when you can do this? Now, where this is interesting. It's like there are still over 1 million IBM mid-range systems in the world running today. There's something like over 10,000 mainframes still running in the world today. Every single bank, every single insurance company, anyone who flew here on an airplane used an IBM mainframe to get here because all the ticketing systems are all based on something called TPL, which runs on IBM mainframes from like the 60s. So this stuff is still relevant, but it's horrible to connect to in the modern world of how you integrate to the cloud. So what we provided the capabilities to do is make it super easy by using APIs. So you'll see kind of drawing these screens up as I interact with this mainframe terminal, and I can kind of record this and play back, and then I can turn this into a map which the connector uses in Logic Apps to be able to drive the mainframe app as simply as just providing the input fields and collecting the output fields. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to hit this get again. What is it doing? There's a function F5. Come on. Why is it not giving me F5? Here we go. Right. So I can just do a lookup. This is a simple banking application. So everyone remembers CHK4566112. So I can kind of go back and I can say, do the get balance. Say CHK46. What was it? 55112. Is that right? I don't think that's right. It'll tell me if it's not right. Yeah. So 4566112, right? There we go. You knew that, right? So it returns me the account balance back. Now, I can use the recording capabilities. These are all going to end up in Visual Studio, by the way. This is just our sort of preview client for being able to do the recording. And then I just point out the name, the account number, and the balance. 2 input fields and 1 output field, right? So when I go over to Logic Apps and take a look at this, and I'm going to just flip to this. I've got a simple Logic app, and I can open this up. And I'm just basically receiving a simple HTTP request and returning a response back. But the interesting thing is this stuff in the middle where it does what I just said, right? It provides an account number, or an account name, and an account number. And I put the method name, getBalance, which is the name of the transaction on the mainframe to be able to drive that stuff. And then it'll return the balance. So kind of click on this, you can see what comes back, and the only single output field I've got is a balance. So I could actually run this. It'll call the mainframe and send a response back. Now, I could do that, but I might have to ask you to believe me because I'm running out of time. So very simple way, again, of being able to connect everything together in a very uniform way, regardless of what it is or where it is. You know, even to the extreme of having IBM mainframes where you don't know how to use this stuff anymore, but the people who do can record this using the tool and then give it to you, and then you can just use that mapping in Azure Integration Services to be able to call these mainframe apps. And we have a rich roadmap of more IBM connectivity coming, 5250, which is the AS400 stuff, mid-range IBM, as well as host files as well, so being able to easily read and write files to mainframe hosts as well. Okay, so another kind of big difference, I think, between the kind of Power development, if you like, and Azure is we have a very Visual Studio-centric experience. So here I've just been using the Azure portal, which is great and super convenient. But we also have support for Visual Studio 2019 and Visual Studio Code. I mentioned the testability capabilities, and we have more kind of coming there for unit testing as well. But we also have Azure DevOps support, because a common problem is like this. Although I'm not writing code in the traditional sense, I still code. I'm still creating these definitions of these resources, and I want to be able to manage that under source control and deploy that in a managed way between my dev, test, production environments over time with some degree of control. So if you haven't seen this before, I'll just go over to VS Code, which we're constantly kind of updating. You can see here in VS Code, I can take that form scanner logic app that I have and open it up. This is read-only right now. It won't be very soon. You can see the rendering of this, and I kind of open it up, and look at my logic app definition, I can also open it just in the JSON raw format, which is an ARM template, remember. So I can parameterize this, and we can automatically parameterize this by exporting the logic app now. Because the idea is that you can kind of create a project in Visual Studio of all of the assets, excuse me, of all the assets that you have, because it's not just going to consist of logic apps, it's going to consist of queues in Service Bus, maybe event grid definitions, maybe APIs, and wrap all of this up into a single deployment to allow you to be able to push this to different environments and manage it all. So we have rich integration, not just in Visual Studio 2019, 17, and 15, but also in VS Code with a new project system also for logic apps that we shipped last week. So if you haven't seen that, I'd encourage you to kind of install VS Code and play around with it and let us know what you think. Obviously, a big advantage of VS Code is it doesn't just run on Windows, it runs on Mac and Linux as well. Okay, so this is kind of what all this sort of looks like when I start to draw it up. You kind of got logic apps connecting everything together in the same way as Flow connects everything together in the Power Platform. And then you have all the Azure services that it connects together, things like machine learning, the messaging services, cognitive services like the forms recognizer, excuse me, I keep coughing, and API management. And then on the other side are other clouds, Dynamics and Office, as well as third-party clouds like Salesforce and beyond, OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, etc., as well as the B2B and EDI capabilities that we have of doing message translation to different formats to be able to exchange data between organizations. And then we have the on-premises data gateway giving you the hybrid connectivity to ground to be able to connect to SharePoint and SQL and SAP and DB2 and even this mainframe thing that you didn't know anything about and probably wish that you didn't and will quickly forget as soon as you leave the room. And then in the middle, we have another new capability called an integration service environment. Who's familiar with this? Okay, not too many people. So, as I mentioned right back at the beginning, Azure Integration Services is serverless. But you now have a choice. So, Service Bus, API Management, Logic Apps, and Event Grid are all serverless services so that you can use API Management as you go, pay as you go, just pay per call essentially. It's millions of calls for $1. Logic Apps is the same. It's the number of kind of steps in a run. Service Bus is the same. It's the number of messages that you send. But each one of these now has a premium offering. And for Logic Apps, this is called the Integration Service Environment. So why would I want to do that? Well, the primary reason is you want VNet connectivity back to your own data center for very fast access to resources where you're moving significant amounts of data in a very short space of time, which can be higher bandwidth than the on-premises data gateway can give you. The other one is because you have dedicated compute allocated to this in Azure, you get very predictable performance from this. We give you higher limits, so Logic Apps can run for longer periods of time. They run for 4 minutes instead of 2 minutes. What else is there? Some of the other differentiators around being able to have control over the connectors as well that are deployed into this environment, so you can kind of lock it down. It's injected into your VNet, so you can configure that and make Logic Apps truly private with API management and everything else in a closed VNet with no public internet access. Let's just move on. It'll jog my memory of everything that's kind of available in this thing. So private outbound IP addresses as well as isolated storage. So if you're in an environment that's highly regulated or you have very stringent security or performance controls or something else, this makes a lot of sense to be able to run in an ICE, an integration service environment, and have all of these capabilities, but it's all still PaaS. There's no infrastructure for you to manage. We abstract all of that away, so what you see is kind of utilization by CPU and storage, but that's abstracted away because there's a number of nodes running, so we give it to you so you understand kind of when it's filling up in terms of capacity, and then you add additional units of capacity to be able to run this thing to keep that predictable performance and get the throughput that you need. Okay, so we have a customer, I think they're here actually into Pipeline, who are already using an ICE, so just give them a call out. They wanted to use it for things like SAP connectivity because it's a closed environment, so being able to connect back to SAP on-prem using a VNet from Azure is critically important to them without using kind of public internet access to do so. Be able to scale up and down. And they've been running on this actually since day one. So day one is when we private previewed this over 6 months ago, the capabilities that we had. And today we have a lot of customers already running in production, even though this only went generally available a month ago. A few other things that's going to start to wrap this up. As I mentioned, Gartner called this category, which we have Azure Integration Services in, Enterprise Integration Platform as a Service. And last year, we were really pleased, thrilled actually, to be awarded or recognized as a leader in this space. And this year, we actually had the same thing happen just a couple of months ago. So 2 years in a row, we've been awarded leader status by Gartner for having leading capabilities of integration in the cloud with our iPaaS Azure Integration Services offering. One of the reasons they did that, well, two actually. One is down to you, because they basically score all of their research based on customer feedback. And the other one is the story. It's the fact that we're taking services which have been discrete, whether it's messaging or APIs or data or anything else, and turning this into a higher level offering of Azure Integration Services to be able to make this stuff easy to use together as a product, to be able to take APIs, to be able to take messaging, to be able to take workflow, take events, and build applications, build workflows, build automation from that with all the connectivity that we have. Okay, another great customer who's using AIS in action is Patagonia. Patagonia, I'm sure you're all familiar with them. They're a outdoor clothing manufacturer, been around for nearly 50 years. They have a number of their own brand stores, but they also have a large number of global stockists. And they were moving from on-premises systems, and they were trying to change the retail experience. A very common problem today, given what's happening with online. So how can they take advantage of the cloud, of Azure Integration Services? So they moved to Logic Apps, Service Bus, and API Management, and actually reduced their order confirmation time down by 90%. So this is the situation which we all expect now, where I go to a website, I make an order, and I immediately flip back to my inbox, and I see the confirmation of the order, because I never believe it when it just gives me the order number in the browser, right? It's like, did they really get it? Am I really going to jump on that airplane? The hotel's not ready for me at the other end. So, and this is a problem for them, because it actually took hours for them to get that email to you because of the slow internal systems that they had. And they implemented Azure Integration Services and cut that down by 90%. So now the emails turn up in seconds instead of minutes or even hours in some cases, to give a much better customer experience. A little bit on roadmap in terms of what's kind of coming next for Azure Integration Services. More connectors. IBM connectors, as I mentioned, but also AWS connectors as well, to provide kind of cross-cloud integration capabilities. Enterprise tools, so this is the mapping tools that we have in Visual Studio 19, as well as the support we have in the down-level versions of Visual Studio today. The additional languages for this inline code capabilities for PowerShell and C#. Something called user-managed identities, which is the ability to essentially run, have the connectors use the identity that you provide instead of the identity that the author of the thing provided, right? So you can now do essentially on behalf of type operations with Azure Integration Services as well. More public regions, I think France, Korea, and a few others go out this month. We have sort of 25 plus regions available today. And another thing actually, which is kind of around the security stuff, is input-output hiding. So one common problem is when you look at the run history in a Logic app, or even a flow for that matter, you can see all the inputs and outputs, right? And we've got a lot of requests from customers to be able to turn that off, because there may be sensitive data in there. They may have PII concerns, or other kind of banking or other regulatory concerns like PSD2, where they didn't want to show sensitive data. So we have a new feature coming very soon that lets you switch that off, so you can mark data flowing through this thing as being sensitive or not. And if it is sensitive, you can turn it off so it doesn't display in the run history. So just a sneak peek of what's coming next. I just want to finish kind of joining these together, because this event is obviously primarily about the Power Platform, primarily about business applications, which are integrated with Power BI, PowerApps, and Microsoft Flow. With the clouds that we have, Dynamics in Office 365, and the standalone applications you build, all able to connect using the rich set of nearly 300 data connectors that we've got. But underpinned by Azure, Azure is kind of running all of this underneath. So what we're giving you with Azure Integration Services is the ability to easily tap into that underlying platform, the capabilities that it provides. With Logic Apps kind of in the center to allow you to have data, messaging, and APIs all connected together with Azure Integration Services. But these are just two sides of the same coin. You know, this stuff is integrated together, as you've seen. Turn a Flow into a Logic App, turn a Logic App essentially into a connector for Flow or a connector for PowerApps to be able to connect these worlds together, to be able to leverage the capabilities on one side that the other side doesn't have, because there are plenty of things in Flow that we don't have in Azure Integration Services, like approvals. So having that ability or the knowledge on how I connect these two things together, it gives you the best of both worlds. It really does. Okay. Because our primary goal is to give you a completeness of integration platform, not just from the Microsoft services and offerings that we have, but across the entire spectrum, because everyone's got, you know, a bunch of things. I was going to say everything, but not everyone's got everything, I hope. But has a bunch of things from other vendors as well, and we understand that, whether it's IBM or Oracle or Salesforce, or using some of these SaaS applications like Twilio to send text messaging, it's super important that you can easily connect this stuff together. So our vision is to provide, you know, a complete industry-leading integration platform that's simple to use and yet very powerful, that can grow with your capabilities as your knowledge expands and as your creativity really takes flight in terms of what you're able to achieve with Azure and with the Power Platform together, that is integrated and cohesive, so it doesn't feel like your disjointed experiences of moving between different environments, that you have everything within easy reach to connect this stuff together, and also have it where you need it, right? So whether you're running things on premises or running things in the cloud or running things in Dynamics, so you want to connect to Azure to connect to on-prem, you can do all of this using the Power Platform and Azure Integration Services. Because this is the final point is most important. This is integration for the many, not the few. For too long, integration has been about integration specialists in IT departments that have short on resources and time, creating a bottleneck, blocking you from the capabilities of being able to do it yourself. This democratizes all of that with Azure and with the Power Platform. As a white paper, so I'll just show a couple of resources. A white paper on Azure Integration Services that was published a few months ago that kind of explains everything in probably better than I've done today, showing you how all the pieces fit together and how it fits into the broader Microsoft ecosystem. And then just a few resources to learn more about Logic Apps, about iPaaS, about the Gartner Magic Quadrant, to kind of learn more and try it out for yourselves if you've not done so before. And with that, I will finish up and say thank you very much for coming.